Chapter 2. Surprise Coursework. Corey's POV. This doesn't make any sense. It feels weird. Having a thing for the most inferior second gender, I'll be permanently disowned from my family. No matter what my brain said or scolded, my body betrayed me. My eyes kept side-glancing at the lost boy. He had no place to sit, and knowing the teacher, they dared not point at me, so the class started with the boy still standing there. I groaned in frustration. Maybe with him being seated, my mind can focus elsewhere. So I shifted my legs off the second chair that I usually have, pushing it away while creating a noise in the classroom. I growled when the boy practically covered his mouth to prevent from squealing. "Sit!" I ordered, and waited for the boy to throw a tantrum. Surprisingly, he sat as quickly as that, not daring to peek in my direction. He was obviously afraid of me. I was speechless. Even though now he was seated, I couldn't take my eyes off the boy. My mind unconsciously studied him despite the constant hate that my mind directed towards the Omega. "Stop making it obvious." I tisked my tongue when Pinky nudged my sides. "It hurts." She was right. I don't want to ruin my reputation, especially for a tossed sex toy of alphas. Scoffing at the thought, I glanced straight, trying to pay attention in the class. Though my attention was short-timed, because some old professor decided to make an announcement.
"Hello, children. It's great to see so many familiar faces. After all, you gave your best last year and hope the same this year too. So, Atiro High School has decided to make this year special. Along with the theoretical classes, we are making it field-based."
The moment he said that, the whole class went chaotic. They were excited and started whispering to each other.
"Everybody pay attention here,"
the professor said, and they went silent.
"Teachers would be accompanying you while you're on field trips and at different places for the studies. You're supposed to make notes and include your experience in the project. At the end of unit exams, you will have quarters of your project to submit. This will continue. By the end of the year, you will have a full-fledged project. Okay?"
Everybody nodded.
Now here's the interesting part. Our school has placement orientation at the end. We have tied up with every college of the country and could provide you our recommendation for the abroad universities. And if you manage to get the top 3 spots, we'll be funding your studies from Atiro University.
My eyebrows knitted together as others jeered. There was no doubt Atiro was the best one here in the whole country, so I actually need to perform well. All these while I wasn't serious yet able to score 3rd or 2nd place, but now I can't take any risk. The professor has handed out some forms that need to be filled. A consent form, I guess. They left, and I sat there glaring holes in the sheet of paper.
"Hey, I think I know that,"
Pinky started, and I grunted in response. She was surprised, but nodded before going quiet. Atiro will fund my studies, so that means I don't have to stay at home anymore. I'll get accommodation from my other expenses. As soon as I started to skim through the information field, I heard a rustle followed by a very soft, husky voice.
"Professor?"
My eyes snapped to my side, and maybe the boy noticed me. His demeanor suddenly turned stiff.
Yes. Wait, are you the new student? Oh, I see."
The professor pushed his glasses back as if that would change him. Stupid old man.
Yes, Professor,"
the boy answered, and I raised an eyebrow at his politeness.
"So, you need any help with the form?"
the professor asked, coming closer. For some unknown reason, I got bothered by how the professor was nearing him. My fist clenched, and if not for Pinky, I would have hit him, that's for sure.
"Anasuma-kun, let's just get out of here."
She tugged at my wrist, and I growled. The Omega stole a glance in my direction, shivering. I intentionally locked my eyes with his and smirked before grabbing my stuff and leaving the class without a word. There was no one that could pinpoint my behavior. They might even be relieved that now I was away from them. So, I glared back at Pinky, who just dragged me around until we were sitting under a tree near a cafe.
"So, what's it all about?"
I asked her, as she just sighed, slouching her shoulders.
You do realize that professor was a beta, right?
She asked, and I lifted an eyebrow in query. She gave me a look that said, "Are you serious?" before shaking her head and continuing.
He isn't interested in your omega,
she said, and rendered me speechless. "What the fuck?" I whisper shouted, but she closed my mouth before I could finish.
Forget it until you realize on your own. For now, you need to calm yourself. Your body is warm, and you look like you would pop a vein anytime soon. So I dragged you here. Get your mind off him, or you'll face.
She whispered the last part in concern. This time I was stupefied. She was right. A lot of people don't know that I'm a wolf teen. They'll be terrified if they know this, and I don't want that to happen. Regardless, they know there's more to my bad boy facade. We sat in a moment of silence until Pinky started grooming herself. "What are you doing?" I asked, confused at her sudden behavioral change. She was turning deep red and stopped her activities. Since she didn't hear me, I glared in the direction she was looking. Right. There was a guy from Section C who was a year older than us. I clutched my pants in anger. There was no doubt she'd talked about him earlier. To know that this jerk was her mate made me disappointed. He was stupidly handsome. This guy had mud-brown long hair, an oval face, pointed nose, and plump lips. His eyes were black and body was fit. I guess he was of similar height as Pinky. The boy's face glowed, and suddenly a frown set upon his features as they landed on me. It was at the same time Pinky realized my presence. She started pushing me away. It didn't go well. So she moved away from her spot. I was disappointed. Stubbornly, I scooted closer to her. She shifted, and I moved until she got fed up and glared at me. "What?" I feigned innocence. "Hey, what's your issue with the girl?" I sucked in a breath, hearing a new voice call me out. Suddenly, I felt my brain cells turn and move as I planned on killing the person who dared talk to me in that tone. Just when I was about to land a perfect punch on his face, Pinky gripped my wrist and shook her head violently. "Please," she whispered, and my heart nodded at her pleading voice. Itsukushi-chan was raised like a bold girl. To see her plead especially to me, I hated it. Though, when my eyes landed on the person, it didn't take me long to know. The guy was her mate. It was only acceptable for them to behave this way. Regardless, I hated how a mate can make you weak. "She's my best friend. You got a problem with that?" I asked, swelling up my chest. The boy was scared but didn't try to show it. He still held his head high. The desperation to protect Pinky if needed was there. I hate to say, but this guy was genuine. Scoffing, I turned to glance at Pinky, who didn't try initiating a conversation with the guy. Even though the boy was here and protecting her, she waited for my permission. This was difficult, but to snatch her happiness away would be cruelty. So I silently nodded, and she beamed brightly.
"Thank you, Hansumu-kun,"
she shouted and hugged me. I watched how angry the guy was, yet confused. His eyes widened when he heard my name, and stared at me with amazement. "Lay a finger on her, and I'll make sure it was the last thing you did," I warned the guy before leaving the two together.
"Was he really Hansumu-kun?"
I heard the guy ask. Weaklings. Since I had calmed down, I decided to head back to the class. I went back inside, and thankfully the boy was relaxed enough to keep his scent in check. Suddenly, I groaned inwardly when the same thoughts started washing over me. The boy was too busy in studying that he didn't notice me. Well, until a few minutes later. His eyes turned to me and went wide. He wasn't expecting me to return, I guess. "Sorry to disappoint you,"